Franschhoek is a land of tradition, and people say it's a land of French tradition or Huguenot tradition. And if people think that everything is frozen in Franschhoek, it's completely untrue. New people come in Franschhoek and are shaking the traditions. We've seen over the last years newcomer to Franschhoek, and one of them is Holden Manz, and this wine is called Visionaire. So it's called Visionaire.
Visionaire.
Visionaire. It means visionary, someone that has a vision of something usually different. And we can see on that wine, you have some Cabernet Sauvignon, some Merlot, some Syrah, some Cabernet Franc, and some Malbec, which is almost a Bordeaux blend with a bit of Syrah. Is that a reminder of the old Bordeaux before the appellation when Syrah was planted in the Medoc? Maybe, but this is Visionaire. And what do you think of it, Cathy?
So in the glass, it's obviously an old wine because it's got a bricking rim, and then there's this gradation down.
It's still
into
younger
the
than
black.
me. Don't say it's an old wine.
Okay, it's a fairly old wine. So it's a wine that's about plus minus 10 years old. Have you got some black in your glass? I mean, it's really deep and black and luscious, but there's no youthful
It's
purple.
very dense, but there's no purple, no blue.
Youthful purple and no youthful blue. The nose, as you mentioned, it's got, what, 6 grape varieties in there? No, 5, because we don't have Petit Verdot. And you do get this French word, mélange of fruit, or a fruit compote, where it's very difficult to pick out a cassis, very difficult to pick out a plum. It's just a fruit salad of dark berries, dark plums, maybe some prunes on the nose.
There's something I could find that remind me of Malbec, almost this rusty metal on the nose, like this rust powder, which for me is always a marker of a Malbec more than anything Malbec that has been more mature. But yes, you have, that's the beauty of blends. It's, you cannot identify the component, and usually we expect the global wine to be better than individual component.
Correct. And you did mention peppery earlier on when we were nosing the wines, and definitely it's showing a lot of that rotundan, that Syrah character.
And I can find both black and white pepper on this.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And so all in all, it's telling me it's a very ripe wine.
It's a ripe wine. We're on the higher, we're 14.5 alcohol on the label, so it's probably a higher alcohol one. Alcohol is not really noticeable. It's very well integrated.
Well handled, very well handled.
But it's ripe. Ripe fruit.
And on the palate as well, you're not getting any of the varieties standing out and saying, heads up, I'm in this blend, except perhaps for the Cabernet acidity. There's a little bit of an acidic lift to it. For me, Cabernet Sauvignon acidity sometimes presents as sweet and sour.
Yes.
This is not sweet and sour, but it does definitely have a nice acid backbone to the wine.
But I'm sure it needs, for such a ripe and complex wine, you need this strong backbone in order to support, with its acidity, the spiciness of the wine. Because spiciness is the word for this wine.
For this wine, absolutely.
Both on the nose and on the palate. It's extremely spicy, peppery.
And big frame tannins, eh? The tannins are ripe, but they're big. It's a big, tall, well-framed wine, and it's also got a lot of the fruit that pads it on and rounds it out.
So, are the Visionaire, do you think that's the wine of the future for Franschhoek Valley, or is it addressing as well this riper climate we have, and the blend is the best solution to deal with this global warming?
I think the blend is the way to go, because you can pick and choose your components. Use one for freshness, one for your frame, and in years when the Merlot is perhaps far too ripe, you can use something else to give structure and form.
I can feel now you pinpointed the effect of Cabernet Sauvignon,
Yeah.
which is actually have this slightly acid backbone that's supporting the full wine and makes it stand on its own when we deal with a lot of ripeness in this wine. Thus, I mean, that's why we got so much spiciness. We will not have spiciness in an unripe wine. So
Interesting.
interesting, the vision of the future, Visionary, Holden Manz. That's a 2014 vintage. Try to pick it out in the blind tasting.
Interesting. Good luck.